I have decided, folks, to give up on the Gen 4 suspect. If you've been following this ladder series and you thought eventually I would triumph over adversity and persevere and reach the top of the mountaintop, I'm sorry to tell you that I'm simply walking away from the mountain and going elsewhere to the fields where I'm at home, because the mountain is it's not tenable for a player like me. I can't do it. I don't know if I have the ability, and more importantly, I don't have the will to keep going. I don't have the desire. Maybe I'm going to talk here a little bit about my thoughts on this experience and my thoughts on Gen 4 as a format. Maybe it's recency bias talking because of my experience, but I'm gonna say that this is, in my opinion, the worst OU format in Pokemon history. If I'm being completely honest, if I'm gonna drop the veil and stop giving this legacy points and trusting the word of Smogon veterans who swear by Gen 4 OU, if I am being completely true to myself, it's a horrible format. It's chaos. Not only are there just horrible strategies at the very top. I mean, the best and most consistent strategy in the game is para-flinch spam. And yes, you could check Jirachi, kind of, but then, like, Jirachi, in the process of being checked, is spreading body slime paralysis and fire punch burn and wishing everything up and maybe making hazards and maybe pivoting out and maybe just getting so much value that, like, yes, you could not get beat by flinch, but you're getting paralyzed. In this format, it is so easy to spread paralysis. There's nothing that really comes in and loves getting paralyzed. So I think in most Gen 4 games, a large portion of your team is going to get paralyzed. And that naturally adds variance. There's also cosmic variance all the time, because every threat has like 100 different sets, because physical special split added a billion options. Tyrannosif has like... It's got special mixed sets. It's got the Pursuit Trapper set, bulky with a berry that lives one of 4 different types, like Shukaberry, Pashaberry, Choppleberry. You got Kustapberry, you've got Scarftar, you've got Banditar, you've got Dragon Dance, also with 1,000 different berries, Lumberry. So, I don't also know how to guess what item they have. How do you, like, look at their team and figure out what item I don't know how. There's like, maybe if they're like a little bit weak to water, they probably have a Pasho Berry, I guess, but it doesn't feel like that's ever my guess is ever correct on that one. It never feels like I'm correct. Gyarados is a piece of garbage, because when you see a Gyarados, you usually have to take a waterfall from it and attack back. Unless you have a Scarfer that's faster with Thunderbolt. But then what if they have a Wakanberry, and also what if they just hit you and their Choice Band and then your Rotom dies? So you see a Gyarados, so there's 1,000 things that could go wrong. Usually I was running this team, I go to my full physical defense Skarmory, and if I get flinched, I guess it's just lights out because everything else drops. Look at the team. If you flinch the physical check once, which is a 20% chance off a really high power, not high power, but, you know, stab water move, you just lose, folks. So, like, I don't even think Jirachi is like, yes, Jirachi's the biggest thing. It's keeping everything else down, and it's turning us into monsters first. It's turning us into monsters. Like, the Jirachi mirror is hell. Clefable is also hell, because if it's a Clefable mirror, like 2 slowish teams with Clefable, usually they both want to go to Clefable to get knocked off, because everything else hates losing leftovers in the sand. Alright. I can't lose lefties on Skarmory, probably, because I need to chip heal against Iron Head. If they have a Jirachi, which of course they do. So there's so often, if you're running a Clefable team, there's like a Clefable stalemate, where neither Pokemon wants to leave the safety of the Clefable. It's the only safe thing in this format, is Clefable, because it ignores Sand, Spikes, Toxic, Leech Seed, everything. So there's just 2 Clefables seismic tossing each other until they all run out of healing. Or one of them has Encore and a bit of speed creep, maybe, to stall a bit more soft boileds. I can stall 2 more soft boileds from you, get out of here, go back in. Now it's a mind game. Am I going to Encore and waste my 7 Encores, or am I going to seismic toss? You can go nowhere safely, I can go nowhere safely. We are just sitting here until turn 300. And then the game is probably going to come down to maybe me flinching something that gets into range of a Jirachi KO from a flinch, like a Rotom or a Starmie or something. It's probably going to have to be Jirachi breaking through because your team is so bulky. It has such longevity that Jirachi getting a flinch is the way to break through. That's it. Always it. It's always the path. And I'm not happy and you're not happy, and why are we even here? What are we even doing here? Look, folks. Gen 4 has like a legacy associated with it. It's in many people's eyes the best form, or it used to be viewed that way. But it's just not true. It's not true at all. We were fed a lie. We haven't played the format since it was current, or like no one's played it. They haven't checked. And you know, I rated Gen 4 second on my recent ranking. That was clearly not aged well, but I'll tell you what my logic was a little bit, because I think it's because there were less people tryharding on ladder. Like Gen 4 ladder just had lower, it was more just people having fun. Like, because there's a suspect going on right now, everyone's trying to achieve the very strict requirements, so they're trying to run the most consistent strategy. So you're playing against just horrendous, unfun teams, but there is a fun format in here somewhere. There is. Under all the filth, there's something fun, because there's so many different threats in Gen 4. It's very immediately understandable for a new player, in my opinion, and it's accessible in some ways. Like, you can kind of throw together a team of, like, your favorite threats, and it might do well, because you just straightforwardly click buttons, and it's just... There might be, like, a lack of consistent checks to all the different threats, and that's kind of a problem for balance, but it is fun sometimes to play a game that is fast-paced, you know, accessible in that way, and easy to understand, but I think the gen is just bogged down by the defense. I think in either direction, everything's polarized. The offense teams feel dumb, and so do the defense teams. The defensive teams aim to just ignore all progress whatsoever and run like 6 levitating Pokemon, Magic Guard, ignore spikes, live forever. And the offense teams are aiming to just ignorantly press buttons and kill everything. And that's my impression of it anyway. Apparently, Gen 4 players are upset with me for my little rant I went on yesterday, but am I just bad? Maybe I'm just bad, but let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that I've been thinking about recently. A lot of people accuse me of, like, spreading Gen 3 propaganda. They accuse me of, like, Gen 3 would not be as popular if there was no Jimothy Cool around to push this propaganda. I honestly think that Gen 3 is just good, and the format speaks for itself. And if I was championing it and the format sucked, like, my words wouldn't align with reality and people would try it and hate it. But people like it. It's not me, it's the format. It's not because of me. I think Gen 3 is just fun. I think it's just fun and cool. So, if you're a Gen 4 player and you're like, you want more new players in the tournament scene and you want more attention towards Gen 4. I don't know if it's possible in the Gen's current state. I don't know if this appeals to people in a wider sense. And I think if you believe Gen 4 in its current state is a good format, I think you are in a bubble. I think you are in a bubble where I've often found that good Pokemon players have very warped opinions from the everyman. And you know, somebody like M Dragon is a legendary player, but he has strange takes on things. He has strange opinions, and he how do you put this? Like, you see things in a completely different way when you're good at Pokemon. But I think that we have to factor in the opinion of a new player getting into a format. And what do they think? And what do they value? That's what I think. I don't know. But yeah, as it stands, genuinely the worst OU format of all time, in my current opinion. But like, I've realized, you know what else I've realized from this experience? Is that we all judge OU formats based on very surface level observations and maybe past experience that is outdated. Like, I ranked Gen 4 so high based on largely vibes, based on my experience playing off-season ladder, where I can use random stuff and just sort of click buttons with low stakes and have some good old-fashioned fun. But that's not the reality of what the format is. At the top level, the format is something completely different. And it's something sinister and horrible. So maybe Gen 8 is the greatest format of all time or something. Like, I've not really tried it in years. I have not a desire to try it, but now I'm curious because this experience has completely shifted my opinion of Gen 4. I could view it very differently now. So now I think that I'm more motivated to try other formats in a serious capacity to at least get a accurate sense of what they are truly like. Because my surface level understanding of many formats is just not up to... It's not there. It's not accurate. I feel like I would really enjoy Gen 6, but I don't actually know that until I try it. So I think that my mission in going into next year is to give every OU format a serious try in some capacity. Set some sort of goal for myself, maybe an ELO goal. Or, I don't know, I have less time to play tournaments these days, but I could try that as well. Get to the open tournaments for these formats. And engaging with them in a serious context. To get a serious view of how they really are. Maybe Gen 7 is better than I think. Certain people think Gen 7's great. I have a view of Gen 7 that's very outdated, possibly. I don't know what the current modern metagame of Gen 7 looks like. I feel like I would hate it. I hate Toxapex, Ultra Beasts, Tapus, Z-Moves, Magina. I hate all that crap. But maybe it's good. I actually have no idea. So let's do that in the next year. Let's try all the different formats and actually try them. And actually try to understand them a little bit better. Thank you for watching, folks. And Merry Christmas as well. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.